So last month, I did one of these videos, an energy update for November, and seeing how time just seems to keep going. Yesterday was December 1st, and today is December 2nd, which means that we get to do an energy update for December. I'm sure you're very, very excited. I know that I am to sit here in my too large shirt and tell you about December. Right. And again, these are things that I'm going through. I think other people may or may not also go through the same thing, sort of a collective spiritual uh, energy, right? Really basic stuff, keeping it grounded and yet still relevant to the topics itself, right? So November for me was very much a heavier kind of month, things decaying. It falls in line with this whole idea of fall, right? And then now you're getting into the winter. I mean, there's snow outside, where I live anyway. If you live in Florida, probably not, but I live in Toronto, Canada. And so there's snow. It snows outside my balcony. There's snow. It's lovely, great. And it symbolizes things, right? Winter, death, decay, stillness, rest. And it's very much in line with the energies in of itself. November for me was very heavy, a lot of things falling away, realizing things, right? This mental realization, mental clarity of who I should keep, who I shouldn't keep, what I should do, things falling away, especially around career and finances. This idea of that I'm no longer necessarily happy with what I'm doing. And even though on the surface, nothing much has changed between November and December for me. I don't suddenly have some great job or a bunch of money or anything like that. If anything, I'm looking for both. So if you happen to have any of that, just give it to me. Would that be good? It seems nice, right? In any case, December though, however, feels lighter. Right, there's a certain energy going through here, which maybe because of the heaviness that was going on at the end of November, December seems to open up something, a door, maybe a small door, is slightly ajar, but there is this sense of like a profound, not peace, but a sense of progress, like a clarity towards peace, towards progress. The things that were bothering me in November no longer bother me now, right? There's an element of acceptance, right? So I feel like there's this energy going through in my life personally where it just feels like the things that were hurting me aren't hurting me as much anymore, even though they're still very much present. And maybe that makes sense to you guys. It's maybe you get so used to living with something, right? I mean, chronic pain. You get used to living with disappointment, with expectations, with anything that can kind of weigh us down. And I think for most of it, that it creates an element of suffering, right? And suffering is, I think, a choice, right, that we all make because I don't know if you've noticed this about people, and today, like 2025, the end of the year. Oh, wow, what a crazy went by really quickly. I don't know if you've noticed this, but everybody's fucking broke. Nobody has money. Everybody's miserable. There's just shit going on in the world. You know, people are dying all over. People die anyway, I suppose, but you know, there's also other things that are causing deaths. You know, Gaza, Congo, some mass shooting. You know, there's all kinds of terrible things, and nobody has money, and COVID ruined everything, and everything's expensive, and nobody can go anywhere, and everybody's suffering to some degree. It doesn't matter what field they're in, what they're doing. I've talked to all these different people, and everybody seems to, generally speaking, not have what they want, right? Including me. Go figure. And yet everybody's suffering. Everybody's suffering through the same element of like, God damn it, it's happening to me. I hate my life. This sucks, right? There's this element of suffering of like pushing through things, right? I mean, if it's raining and you don't have an umbrella, then that sucks, right? Because it's just like your clothes are getting ruined, right? It sucks enough. It's already bad enough that you didn't plan for this. But suffering ends up like you're running through the rain in the mud and your legs are sinking and you're just having a tantrum and you're screaming the whole time and none of it is fun. And that's suffering, right? And I feel like December is an end to many people's suffering. Now it's a perspective change, I think, because when you're given things that you want, whether it's a relationship or money or career or a new job or a lovely social circle or even just a material item like a brand new TV, something. people still watch TV, right? So whatever it is that you want, it doesn't really remove suffering, right? I mean, you go through the rainstorm, you're complaining, you're in the mud, somebody gives you an umbrella at that point, it's kind of too little too late. Or, if somebody says anything nice or positive while you're suffering, it doesn't really stick, right? So you can get things, positive things while you're suffering, but if you are in fact suffering, you don't really enjoy them and you don't see them for what they are. You just keep plowing through the mud. And that's kind of what is ending, right? I feel like it's ending for me. I have this intuitive sense that things are giving way, that there's this breakthrough, that there's a perspective that's coming in. And through that perspective, I feel like the energy for many people's lives are going to shift. And there's going to be this a sense of newness, but also stillness that matches the seasonal changes that many people around the world are going through, right? It gets darker earlier. Like I said, there's snow outside. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Celsius, but Celsius, like Fahrenheit, but not, is difficult for some people. But so in Celsius, it would be -4. Okay, if you're used to Fahrenheit, that probably seems very scary, but it's probably about like, I don't know, 30 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe, give or take. So cold, right? Snow on the ground, scarves, boots, slush, wind. Nobody wants to go outside. Like, there's a lot of changes that people go through when they deal with the weather and stuff like that. Not me, because I'm not a little bitch, but I'm just kidding. But for a lot of people, things absolutely change, and they feel forced to stop. And then there is that element. There is the stillness that is coming for many people, and it for me as well. My job is tourism, right? So in the winter time, there's not a lot of it. And you still do it, but you go from making like 4 or 5 grand to making like a few $100. Like it really just is a huge drop off, right? And November was particularly slow. And in any case, the stillness that comes, that is brought by such seasonal changes or work changes or whatever changes are going on in your life, which I feel November was bringing for a lot of people. Now there's this wide berth of things, right? There's this opportunity. And while I was working every day and making all this money, at the same time, I would think, well, I don't have time to do the YouTube videos, and I don't have the energy to make a song or write. And I wasn't doing it to the full degree, but I was earning money, right? And now I have all this time and I can throw myself into my projects more, right? It's all I have to do, really. Find a new job and whatnot. But this idea of stillness, and whereas before it was always scary and I didn't want to be alone, I didn't want to be bored, I didn't want to sit still, I didn't want to just stay at home. Now there's this sense of freedom in the way that I move through my own life, right? Like today I'll go for a walk. I don't have to. Nobody's forcing me to. There's nothing stopping me. I could stay here all day. I could go take a nap. I could sleep. I could do literally whatever I want. And that's just personal to me. I'm not saying that everybody in December that watches this video is just going to get to do whatever they want all day. Of course not. It's different for everybody. The circumstances are different for everybody. But the energy is largely going to be the same. There's a change happening that was already happening as the fall came into being, right? And now with winter, the stillness is going to offer a lot of people opportunity to get out of their own suffering, to get out of their own way. And that's difficult. It's difficult for me. It's difficult for a lot of people to stop being a victim to all the bullshit, because it feels good. It feels good to be a victim. It feels good, not in a logical sense necessarily, but more like, oh, it's happening to me, and it justifies the fact that it's happening if you're a victim. Like, it's easy to say to yourself, well, I suck and everything sucks, and look at me, I'm so pathetic, and all the terrible things I've been through. It's very easy to say that stuff, and it feels good, and it's partly true. So of course it feels normal. It feels like you can accept that reality. But that causes suffering, right? Because life fucking sucks. Sorry to say it like that, but everything that sucks exists in life. Isn't like everything? The anxiety, the being tired, all this shit. It all just exists in life, right? And all the good things do as well. Ice cream cones, sex, whatever. It all exists in life. All the good and the bad, it's all mixed together, right? And suffering is just the bad, and it weighs you down, and suffering is a choice, right? Suffering is living through your life with a bad attitude, right? That's all suffering is. And December offers an opportunity to get out of that. And it depends on each individual person and whether they're willing to take it, if they can make the time for themselves. I think a lot of people imagine spirituality to be a linear process. It's very fluid, and that it should all just be a gradual build towards some a magical epiphany. But it's really like going to constantly be a circle, a cycle. It's going to be up and down. It's going to be cyclical. Like, it's not going to be a linear process. So every time that you have these opportunities, it's important to take them, even though they're uncomfortable and even though they're scary, because you never know when you're going to need that perspective moving forward, when you're going to need to upgrade. Like, everybody thinks an upgrade is a material thing that you can see, but what's happening now is an upgrade to the nervous system, right? To your ability to handle pain, pressure, anxiety. It's an upgrade to your perspective, right? Your ability to see things differently, and it's even an upgrade for, I think, many people physically, right? I mean, people definitely do, when there is heavy seasonal changes, people do tend to gain weight. Of course, you don't go out as much. But personally, for me, regardless of the cold, maybe because I'm a super pasty white guy from Canada, I'm okay to go walk around in the cold, right? And getting exercise and exercising. I did like a light exercise this morning. Don't worry, I'm still a fat piece of shit. But just trying to get into a uh, you know, the energy, like I feel like a more of it, like it's there for the taking. I'm trying to reach it. I'm trying not to suffer through the things that clearly have caused me some amount of pain. And because the pain's always going to be there. The same amount of bullshit is going to be there for everybody tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. The money, the no job, the relationship, all the stuff doesn't just go away, right? It doesn't. It's still there. And even if it does go away, something else will happen later on, right? And that's the way that it's going to always be. People think that they go through a spiritual awakening and they get rid of all the stuff and it doesn't exist anymore. That's not true, because we live in a society. We live with other people who are not going to share the same perspectives and same feelings and same insights and the same energies. They're not going to feel that stuff. If you want to be Eckhart Tolle, you got to remove yourself from society. You have to dedicate your entire life to spirituality. And for most people, that's not a reality. That's not my reality. I'm not going to dedicate my entire being to spirituality. Okay. I got other shit that I want to do, things I'd like to go, places, people. I'm not going to spend my entire life in a monastery somewhere, right? Or removed from society, or in a retreat constantly. That's not the way that most people can live their life. And yet, spiritual people tend to want to live their life like that. But that's not what's happening. So December is a time to end the suffering, end these false perspectives around yourself, around the way that you've been carrying yourself, around spirituality, around your own perspectives. It's time to upgrade. And those upgrades are going to be internal. That's how they're going to start. And they start with stillness, right? You think about a tree in the forest. When things are destroyed, big loud crash makes a big noise, right? Presumably. And that's what they say. Isn't that like a thing people say? If a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear it, does it still make a sound? And the answer to that is fucking yes, it does. Obviously. But that's the point. Things are destroyed, big loud crash, right? When things are born, like a plant growing, it's still, it's quiet, right? And that's what's happening right now. There's a process where things are allowed to be birthed, and we have to lean into it rather than lean away. And leaning in and leaning away is, relatively speaking, a choice. And that's what December is asking of us, is to make that choice so that when the new year does come around, we can kind of propel ourselves forward rather than continue in a limbo state of suffering where nothing really ever ends.